advance. If the lunch arrives during your presentation, we'll try to
minimize
distraction. So I'm really pleased to introduce Tammy Meyers of Hop Studio. I think that she is Hop Studio's secret, not so secret weapon, and she's going to tell us about how to boost your agency's operational efficiency.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Yes, like she said, I'm Tammy, Operations Manager with Hop Studios. Yeah, I'm going to be sharing 10 practical and tested ways to bring more efficiency into your business. And the QR code here will give you this slide deck, and I'll also have it at the end of the presentation. All right, before we get into that, a little bit about Hop Studios, if you're new to us. We were founded back in 2001, which in internet years means we've been around long enough to see a lot of trends come and go. We've also been expression engine experts since the early days. So what is it, version 0.9 beta? Way before my time too. We are a fully remote team since 2020. And we have we have nine people in our staff that are located across Canada, the US, and in India. And a lot of what I'm going to share today comes from that perspective of a distributed team. And lastly, we're also a certified B Corp, B Corporation. And for us, efficiency isn't just about the profit margins. It's also about aligning the way that we work with our values. And so speaking of values and experience, let me just share a little bit about my perspective. So I oversee the operations at Hop, which basically means I'm making sure that the wheels don't fall off the bus, as it were, or making sure we've got a spare tire or some duct tape handy. I've worked in business, marketing, and management for many years, I'm not going to say. I've been in both nonprofit organizations, so in tourism and chamber of commerces, and also in various tech companies. And I also co-founded an award-winning augmented reality company for tourism and heritage experiences. And through all this varied work experience that I've had throughout my career, what I really love is finding ways to help teams be productive and efficient without burning people out, myself included, because I've been there and done that. Outside work, I'm based in Vancouver, BC. This is that picture there. I love the outdoors. I dabble in culinary arts. I recently taken up watercolor painting. I'm also passionate about dogs, and I volunteer with Elder Dog, which is an organization that helps seniors care for their dogs so that they can stay together longer. And that photo of the sunset is off of my balcony in Vancouver. I probably have more sunset photos than anything else. Okay, that's enough about me. So this illustration really sums up business life. On the one side, you've got the fire, you've got the frantic emails, the last minute client changes, the sense that everything is urgent all the time. Everyone's running around chaotic, crazy. We all spend time there, and that fiery side of things, and sometimes too long, which ends up getting into that burnout zone. Whereas on the other side, you've got that calm, the projects are planned out, the priorities are clear, and everyone is really calmly working without that fiery panic. And that's where we all want to be. The question is, where are you living? Are you living mostly on the fire side or on the calm side? And in business, everyone has spent time on both sides for sure. So what I'm going to share today is the tactics that help you shift more into that calm side and productive zone and less time firefighting. So I grouped the 10 tactics today into 3 categories. The first is people and communication, because no matter what tools you have, if your team can't communicate well, everything will just fall apart. And the second will be processes and workflows, which are the nuts and bolts of how work gets done and where a lot of efficiency gains or losses will happen. And then we'll get into some tools and automation. And this is the technology that supports all of it. So we love our tools, but we want to make sure that they're working for us and not the other way around. So if you have all 3 of those things, you should be out of that chaotic zone and into that calm place. Okay, so our tactic 1 is the 10-minute daily sync. So I'm sure some of you might already be saying, oh, yippee, another meeting. But stay with me here because this one can actually save you a lot of time. So as I mentioned, Hop Studios team were spread out remotely. So without a daily check-in, people could really go days spinning their wheels, blocked on something really small. But a quick sync like this, where everybody comes together, they can share their priorities, they can share if there are any blockers they have, so if there are any speed bumps, they don't turn into these giant roadblocks. So the trick here is to keep it focused. So it's 10 minutes. It's not a problem-solving deep dive. It's not going on tangents, or we try not to. But it's just, here's what I'm working on, and here are my blockers. And it keeps us aligned, and more importantly, it keeps us connected as a remote team. There was a study by the Harvard Business Review that found that remote employees who had a daily check-in were 67% more engaged and felt less isolated than those who didn't have those daily check-ins. I mean, let's face it, working remote, you can really feel like you're on your own island sometimes. But with a daily sync like this, it really can help you, everyone, stay connected. So of course, we still have other meetings, but the key is making sure that those meetings are actually useful and not just time fillers, which brings me to tactic 2. So this tactic is what I'm calling meeting hygiene, so keep it clean. We've all been in those meetings that drag on forever and ever and leave you thinking, you know, there goes another hour of my life that I'm never going to get back. But the truth is, most of us don't need more meetings, we just need better ones. So for us at HOP, what that means is a few things. We keep our meetings short and focused, and we always have an agenda wherever practical and necessary. And we also use asynchronous updates whenever possible. And this could be a clear Basecamp post of the action items from the meeting that was had, or a shared meeting recording. And both of these things are often faster and more efficient than gathering everyone on a Zoom call. So when we do record meetings, we share the link so that anyone who wasn't in attendance can easily replay key moments or just skim through for what matters, for what they need for their work. And that way, no one's guessing as to what was decided in that meeting. We take these recordings a step further. So by using AI to generate notes and action items, and that saves time and eliminates those awkward, like, who is supposed to do what again moments. Plus, by using AI to take notes, it lets everyone in the meeting stay focused and engaged instead of frantically trying to take down all the notes during that meeting. So meeting hygiene, it's not about having fewer meetings, or maybe it is for you, but it's about making the ones that you do have, they're clear, efficient, and actually worth showing up for, or not. But even with great meetings, you still need to avoid the important, well, who's doing what problem. And that's where tactic 3 comes in. So this is all about clearly defining roles and responsibilities. And this is important because if you don't know who's holding the baton, like this, you're just basically going to be running around in circles. One of the fastest ways to waste time in a company is having a lack of clarity, when nobody's quite sure who's doing what. And that's when things really start slipping through the cracks. So for us at Hop Studios, we work really hard to make responsibilities crystal clear. We use Basecamp for our task central, and every deliverable and task is mapped out as to who's leading it, who's supporting it, how it's getting reviewed. And we also try to assign each to-do to just one person. However, if there are 2 people assigned, it usually means there's a 2-part task to that. So having this kind of clarity around roles and responsibilities isn't just efficient, it can also be viewed as kind. And it's kind because people feel better when they do better, when they know exactly what's expected of them. No one likes walking into any kind of meeting wondering if something was supposed to be their job. So having that clarity also builds trust because it prevents resentment and it gives people the confidence to take real ownership of their work. So defining roles here, it's not about adding bureaucracy. about cutting chaos and giving people the confidence to do their best work. Okay, so that was fast. People and communication was wrapped up. Now I'll shift gears into process and workflows. So this is the nuts and bolts of that flow. So basically, the systems and routines that either make your agency run smoothly or will make you want to pull your hair out. All right, tactic 4. It's what we call the client onboarding playbook. There's a HubSpot survey that found more than 90% of customers feel that companies could do a much better job at onboarding them as new clients. So that means that most businesses are missing an opportunity to build trust and loyalty right from the get-go. So you've all heard the saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Well, that absolutely applies to your clients. The way you start a relationship sets the tone for everything that follows. So at Hop, what we do, we put together an onboarding kit, if you will, with templates, welcome documents, and FAQs. So when we bring on a new client, we aren't reinventing the wheel every single time. And that really helps our team to get client projects moving quickly and efficiently. Now, this does not need to be fancy. It just answers the questions before every new client has to ask them. And that saves them a lot of time, but it also saves us a lot of time in repeating ourselves 100 times. So this also sets those expectations early, how we communicate, what the timelines look like, and how our billing works. So that kind of clarity really helps to avoid awkward conversations later on, and that makes the clients feel like they're in capable hands right from day one. So client onboarding isn't just about paperwork. It's a trust-building tool that shows you're organized, you're professional, and you're ready to deliver. And so once you've set up that strong foundation, the next step is to keep it lean. So as a minimalist, this might be one of my favorites, cutting waste and clutter. So when we think about efficiency, we often picture adding more productivity tools, more checklists, more steps. But the real gains usually come from taking things away and keeping it simple. So at Hop, we regularly review our tools, our processes, and even recurring tasks. And if something isn't pulling its weight, it's gone, essentially. We've cut subscriptions we weren't really using, which also saves you money. We've simplified our processes, and we've even ditched old habits, like holding meetings that didn't really need to be meetings. So if it's not being used or adding value, it belongs right there in the waste bin with all the other unused processes and tools. So you can think of it like it's spring cleaning for your business. It's clearing out the clutter so that you can actually see and use what matters most to you. So it's not about doing everything right. Efficiency is not that. It's about doing the right things and letting go of everything else. And one way to make sure that you're always doing the right things the right way is to document them. So tactic 6. So SOPs, standard operating procedures. It's for repeated tasks. So you can think of SOPs like these signposts. They point everyone in the same direction so that no one gets lost or has to guess the route to get there. Documentation might not sound that all exciting, but neither does reinventing the wheel every time you onboard a client or a new employee or develop a new website or install software or run a report or anything. So at Hop, if we find ourselves doing something more than once, we document it just once, and then we refine and update it as we need to. This way, anyone on the team can just jump in and find the information or the how-to and know exactly what to do to get to work. So when we first started documenting, everything lived in one giant document. It was basically our own little or big SOP Bible. And it worked until it didn't, and we found that we were taking more time to find what we actually needed than the actual task itself. So what we did a couple years ago, we moved everything into Guru. And this is a knowledge management platform that uses AI to organize and search information so that everyone can easily and quickly access what they need and get to it. So now, all our SOPs, procedures, and policies each live in their own card in Guru. And these are searchable, they're organized, and they're easy to update. And this has made a huge difference in how quickly people can find answers. And the benefits here are huge. There's less time wasted looking for information. There's fewer mistakes since it's all in one documentation. It's all documented, I should say. And there's way more consistency. Plus, it means that the knowledge isn't trapped in one person's head, which makes vacations a whole lot less stressful. So the bottom line here is SOPs aren't about adding red tape. They're about freeing up brain power for the things that actually need creativity and judgment. Okay, so that's process workflows. So now we'll get into the tools and automation, because even when you have great people and great processes, the right tools can make or break how smoothly things will run. All right, so let's talk about one of the small things that can really cause massive headaches. It's passwords. I think we can all agree that nothing kills efficiency faster than hunting for a login that you swear you saved somewhere. All right, you know it. Or worse, you realize that the only person with access is on vacation in Costa Rica and they have no Wi-Fi. So at Hop Studios, we use one centralized password and access management system. It's one system that everyone can access it on our team, and this really stops us from wasting time chasing around each other for these logins. So you can kind of think of it like this image. You got dozens of keys scattered everywhere, or you just have one central lock that everyone can open. But the key part here is to use one password management system and disable the others. Just don't use them. So you don't also have like Google Chrome's password manager and Safari's and the new Mac password app. It's really best to just pick one of those and stick with it so that your team is aligned and everyone has access. So the one that we use at Hop is called 1Password. And it's really a lifesaver for dev teams and admin teams, and honestly anyone who values their sanity. So, so this one's pretty simple. Keep your passwords and access in one place, and your future self will thank you. Okay, so once you're not chasing passwords around and wasting that time, the next question is, where does all your time go? Okay, so this is a fun one, or at least it can be fun if it actually works. So, and that's time tracking. So when teams track their time consistently, they'll start seeing patterns in their work. And once you start seeing those patterns, you can get way better at estimating future projects, and that accuracy really helps to balance workloads, and it helps to prevent work burnout and boost profitability. Now I know nobody wakes up excited to log their hours every morning, but here's the thing, it's not about micromanaging people. This is really about understanding where your time is going. And nobody wants to get to any end of project and say, wait a second, how did we just go over 20 hours by that? So at Hop Studios, what we do, we track time in Harvest, and we integrate that directly with Basecamp. So that task connection means that you can start a timer right inside. So Basecamp is under here, that's Harvest on top. So you can start your timer right within Basecamp, and that works directly into Harvest. So there's no switching between apps, there's no guessing later as to what was done and the time it took. And this really keeps our time tracking accurate, smooth, and ready for invoicing the client. And time tracking is gold for your business. So you'll often find that some tasks you thought were quick actually took much longer. And once you see that pattern happening, you can fix it, you delegate it, or you just budget for it properly. So again, time tracking, it's not about squeezing every last minute out of people. It's about making smarter decisions with real information. It's like headlights for your projects. If you don't have that, you're just going to be driving in the dark. So once you can clearly see where the time is going, the next step is finding smart ways to win some of that time back. That's where tactic 9 comes in. Okay, so this one is about how we save time without adding a head count. Meet your junior assistant, AI. Okay, so notice I said junior assistant. This is not your new CEO or your senior strategist. AI is amazing for your first drafts, your coding assist, routine emails, etc., and the like. It really saves hours and helps to skip those dreaded blank screen moments. So at Hop Studios, we use AI to draft proposals. We gather research, we generate documentation, assist with coding, and that gets us a good part of the way. And then we review, polish, refine, and humanize it. And that last part is really important, managing and refining its output. And that's how we avoid what's now being called, if you've heard the term, work slop, which is a new term for low quality, thoughtless, AI-generated content that misses that human touch. So using AI, having some structure around how we use it, frees the team to focus on creative and strategic work, which is the stuff that only humans can really do well. Some of the tools that we use include ChatGPT, Cursor, Claude, Midjourney, along with the built-in AI features in Zoom, Grammarly. I'm sure there's more to that list, and it's going to keep growing. So you can think of AI, they're that eager intern. They're fast, they're capable, but they still need supervision. You wouldn't hand them the keys to your company, but you'd absolutely let them handle the routine tasks that keep things moving along. So once you've got AI helping with those basics, the next question is, how do you make sure all of the important knowledge and communication doesn't get lost? So this one's about knowing where to look, because nothing wastes time faster than digging through 5 different apps to find one message. And Tactic 10 is really about keeping your communication and your knowledge organized by separating them clearly. So as mentioned earlier, communications is key to keeping teams alive, especially remote teams. And if you're trying to track decisions that are spread across Slack and email and various Google Docs, your chaos is going to creep in really quickly. At Hop Studios, we learned that the secret to this isn't putting our communication and information all into one system, but rather it's giving each tool a clear role and sticking to it. So for us, Slack is for quick updates and conversations, water cooler type of stuff too. And Basecamp is for tasks. It's client project discussions and decision making. And then Guru is our knowledge base. And that's where our SOPs, our how-tos, staff policies, procedures, that's where all that lives. So when we keep those things separate, it means that we're not digging through Slack to find a project requirement or approvals. As well, we're not also searching through endless Basecamp threads when we just need to check on how-to process. And the key here is having structure. So everyone knows where to look for what, and that saves us from those frustrating scavenger hunts to find client communications or decisions on internal policies. When communication and knowledge are organized, the chaos disappears, and you can focus on the actual work instead of searching for it. So once everything's running smoothly, you've got your people, your processes, and your tools, and the next question becomes, well, what's all that efficiency for? So I've got a couple bonus points that come in here. So bonus 1, at Hop Studios, becoming a certified B Corp changed the way we think about operations in a really positive way. If you're not familiar with a B Corp certification, this is given to businesses that meet high standards of social and environmental performance, transparency, and accountability. And I led Hop Studios through that process, and I can tell you it is rigorous. It looks at everything from your policies, your procedures, and how you treat your team, and how you engage with your community and with your planet. And for us, the process really helped us and made us slow down and really examine how we operate, from how we support our team to how we choose vendors and clients to even the day-to-day of purchasing decisions that we make. And it really helped us to make sure that our actions line up with our goals and our values. Because when your work is guided by values, it builds trust, accountability, and a stronger sense of purpose. And this helps people connect, not just with what you do, but with why it matters. And it's about a balance, this balance here, profit and values. They're not working against each other, they're working together, not outweighing each other. And when you build around what matters, you gain something that's just as valuable, which takes us to efficiency, creating space. So this is not about squeezing more time into every hour that you have space. It's about freeing up time and energy for what matters, both at work and in life. And that's what this slide is really about, making space for joy, creativity, and the simple things that lift us up. When you streamline, you don't just cut waste, you create room. This is room for fresh ideas, for strategy, and for life that is outside of work. For our team, that might mean fewer late nights and more time with friends and family, or mental space to pick up a paintbrush, or walk the dog, or just take any real break. And that really brings us full circle. Efficiency is about reducing chaos so that we can create space and do better and more meaningful work. And that's it. Less chaos, better work, more space for what matters. Thank you. Questions? Yes, Lydia?
Do you have any suggestions for how, great presentation, first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation. As far as the SOP documentation goes, that is something that is sort of, we've been working on that for a long time. Is there a way, do you have any suggestions for like, how do you assign ownership, or like, what do you guys do to actually get them done?
Yeah, good question, actually. Yeah, everyone can write an SOP, and then that has to be reviewed by someone. So like if Rowan, for instance, if he writes an SOP on something that is involved with his work, then somebody else on our team will review that. Or if I write a policy or SOP, I'll get Travis to review that. So everything's reviewed so that it's a proper stage and it makes sense. But everyone can get in there and they can write. So if it's a how-to on how to run a report or something, they can write that directly right into Guru, and then that can also go into a review. So I can assign it to you to get reviewed. So that's what we handle it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Given that you're all remote and you have some people in India, others in Canada, do you ever run the hurdle of the time zone?
Yes, absolutely. We do. But we also look at it as an advantage, because so if we have somebody, so our one person that lives in India, she starts much earlier than other devs that are in Pacific time, for instance. And so they can help, like she can help people or clients that are in like a later or an earlier time zone, I guess it is. So she's more available in that time, and then everyone kind of catches in. So that way our day is actually kind of covered in a lot longer way. Yeah. Lydia?
Another question. So in your communication slide, there were, I think it was Slack and Basecamp, and there was something else. How do you handle client emails? So, and how do you have any suggestions for how to train your clients to use Basecamp?
Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, we're thankful for our project manager who handles a lot of this stuff. And so we do this primarily through Basecamp. So we train our clients so that when they come on board, that's one of the things that we get them into is understanding Basecamp. And that's our main way to communicate with them and them with us. Yeah. Yeah.
Just a quick comment.
Oh.
I love that you gave the full, like a defined job.
Oh, good.
I see that
sure enough. Yeah.
Could you share some of the onboarding stuff you do?
Could I
If
share
it's not,
it?
you know.
It's top secret. Top secret. Our onboarding tools. So a lot of this is like documentation that we have through Basecamp. So we also, when I talked about templates, for instance, we have templates that are set up so that we can call it. So if we have a new client coming on in Basecamp, we have a template new client project, right? And then we revise and update that as needed. And then when our project manager, Chris, when he gets that going, then he starts assigning it to the right people and that kind of thing. So that's where that starts. Then we have documentation also that we keep in primarily in Basecamp as well. We send that out as to FAQs kind of stuff for our clients that way as well. So everything client management kind of thing is, we try to keep it all in Basecamp because that really is the engine of it. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. What about things like after hour, like how to contact us after hours and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
Is that
So-
included in some of those documents? Or?
So our after hours, which I don't get a lot of that myself, thankfully. But no, we've set up a system so that if an urgent, so let's say, website's down, urgent, things are on fire, we do have a system that goes through, and Travis probably knows way better about this, but so that we get our dev team, I have it too, I think, but our dev team, they're the ones that answer it. So they get these urgent messages also coming through, it can come through Basecamp because the client has been told, or, when we onboard them, they're told that to have an urgent request comes through Basecamp, but sometimes they forget because they're freaking out. So they might text. They might text Travis or Chris or whoever they text, which we don't want that, but that happens. And then we use Slack. Okay, it's on fire. We kind of get that. So we kind of get that communication like right now, because sometimes things don't need to go direct through Basecamp. We need to have it immediate. So it could be a text. It's really management system of what works for you and the client in that regard. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you make your staff and clients feel valued?
Wow, that's a great question.
How do you make your
How do we
staff
make
and
them feel
clients
valued? One thing that comes to mind is, so I'll give you a couple examples, I think, is, so if we have a referral system. So let's say you as a client refer so-and-so to us to work with, and it goes through, we'll send you a gift as thank you. So there's that sort of thing, like we send that. We also send little gifts at the end of the year, thank you, we appreciate you, as part of our client base, whatever. And then our staff, we try to keep on top of this, it's more on me. For our staff, we send out little, like, what do we call them? I can't remember right off the top of my head right now. Care package, thank you. He got one. He's gonna get another one. Yeah, so we try to keep everybody like, like feeling like they're valued in that regard. But yeah. Oh yeah, so we do tacos. So we have a taco system. If you guys have heard of Hey Taco, So we have a pretty good taco system. So, and we encourage everyone to use it. So if Rowan does something really nice and it was out of the ordinary maybe, or maybe it was in the ordinary, but it was like, I appreciated that. So I'll send him a taco. Thanks, Rowan. I really appreciate your help with whatever. This is on Slack. Did I say Slack? I send you a real taco. Yeah, no, it's a taco on Slack. And so then that goes into this, bucket of tacos for Rowan. And then he can say, okay, I want to redeem them. And then we give him a card, Amazon card or something like that. Yeah. Cash value. Yeah, go shopping, buy more tacos. Yeah. But yeah, that's another thing we do. Yeah. What else? Did I miss another? Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, going once, going twice, we're done. Thanks, everybody.